Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Jim Rambles On. It's official because I have the official sign. Anyway, first thing I want to do is pan the camera a little bit so that you can see my wooden storefront here, and Benjamin Franklin. We have a full-size cutout of Benjamin Franklin, so let me do that first. All right, what do we got? There's the storefront. You can't see it really well. It's wood, like, excuse me, wood siding, but cedar instead, with a hand-painted sign. And over here is Benjamin Franklin, 5'7" tall. I don't know how tall Ben really was, but this is one of my interactive, fun history things, which I will explain more here shortly. Okay, put the camera back to the little storefront opening and get to telling you what I want to say. This video is a continuum of everything else I've been saying. It's hot this morning. There's no breeze. I'm in the southern states, but I thank God for the warm weather. Anyway, I've been talking about spending a lot less time engaging people politically on the internet. There's a previous video that explains it somewhat in detail. It's called The Epic Nothing. All right, you can see that. I'll also be going over it a little bit in a few minutes in this video. Now, I was talking about renting a table at a gun show. I wanted to go out and meet people. Wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I rented the table. It was reasonably cost, and it was great. The people I met, it was really neat. As a bonus, Saturday, a guy with a radio talk show, he saw me, he said, "We need to talk." He got my contact information. Sunday, a guy who has this, he's part of this monthly dinner meeting constitutional rights group, and I was asked to be a guest speaker there. That's pretty neat. But the really neat part was all the people I got to talk to, non-stop Sunday. And I thought Sunday would be the slow day, like the leftover. Saturday would be the main day, and Sunday would be the people who missed Saturday. But I was wrong. Now, it could be partially me that I was more in the zone. Saturday taught me what to do Sunday. Sunday taught me what to do for the next show. And at the very end of this video, I'll go over that, some changes. So, I had about 6 weeks to prepare for the show. And what they give you is a table, and it's wider than this. Table is 5 feet wide. You get an 8-foot wide table. So my 5-foot wide storefront here has ample room, plus room on the side. And I had it covered with pamphlets and different things, pocket constitutions, little stickers and stuff. Initially I went there thinking I would sell everything, because I know people who make money at shows. So I thought my pamphlets and everything would be for sale. And I ended up realizing, hey, some of these stickers, they only cost me 3 cents to make. I was in a much better position giving them away. I still am. So, let's see if my Morse code key. It's pretty close. It could use a little tune-up. Had 6 weeks to prepare. I had this vague idea. See, I'm a old school hand lettering guy. Not everything I do is hand lettering. This is vinyl here. The sign above is hand lettered. Ben is hand painted. So I had this vague idea. I'll give out some cards to tell people about my services as a sign guy. I do calligraphy. I might have a live demonstration of calligraphy and hand lettering. I had a whole box full of paints. I had an easel and some sign blanks, and there were a few little signs I needed, and ended up making a welcome sign that goes with Ben. I needed them as calligraphy. So as I was doing the calligraphy there at the show, it's a showstopper. I mean, there's a circle of people there watching. I'm sitting here doing it, you know. Here's a little one I did later on just for the fun of it. Anyway, the problem with that, with a live demonstration, is that I'm quiet, I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, and they're quiet. They don't want to interrupt in any way, and nothing's happening, you know, other than that. And so it has potential, it has real potential, but I'd have to figure out a way to use it. Halfway through my preparations, you know, with 2 or 3 weeks to go till the show time, I realized, wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. Let me back up a little bit here. This vague idea of my services, talking to people about signs as alternate communication, and selling some signs. Now, here's one right here. It's first rule of a gunfight: bring a gun. It's the glare might be too much. The lighting here this morning was not terrific, and I'm set up in the barn. It's the only place I could really have this thing. It wouldn't fit too well in my painting shed. Anyway, so this vague idea of what I was going to do, Saturday taught me what to do Sunday, and so forth. Live demonstrations, I don't know. The signs, you kind of need a wall, the wall of awesome signs for sale. Here's another one I had, which would be important to me, but now again, I don't know what the glare is going to do. This is about the .308 Winchester. Actually, in military terms, got some rain on it. It's 7.62 by 5.1. I had some signs like that. I have a variety of little signs. But you need 2 or 3 tables laid out. You need this abundant display so people, wow, those are so neat. I want to take that one home. And I didn't quite have that. So the selling signs also kind of dropped aside. And I had these fun interactive things. That always was a big intent I wanted to do. I wanted to have it fun and interactive. Well, that last 2 or 3 weeks, I realized that the most important part of alternate communication for me is alternate education. All right, I'll go more into that. I won't go into it right now, but it involves single subject classes. They can be mobile. They could be stationary, but they've got to be decked out, themed, and fun. And I thought, hey, you're going to be in front of all these people. Why not theme your little booth here with the history thing? Now, history's not I would rather be doing science because I came to know the Lord through creation science. But I do so much other old-timey stuff that I kind of a natural fit in a way. Excuse me, for the history stuff. So I had a couple weeks to kind of change course, get it interactive, get it fun, get it themed, and I did that some. Now, I want to talk about your typical, as a person walks along, how I interacted with them. The people, I'll just roughly say, I'm going to divide their reaction into 3 categories. You've got women, you've got older men, you've got younger men. Now, the women are easier to deal with in this because I've got the toys out there. All right. Where's my clicker? Oh, gee. Got to have the clicker. It's here somewhere. It's a World War II D-Day thing, and this was really an important part of my repertoire. So let me see if I can find that. Sorry for the delay. Here it is. Great. It's on a cable for security reasons. I had the other end with a fender washer and a decking screw back here. Same with this key. It's a really nice one. It's not even mine. So, excuse me. People walking by, and I'm trying to get them, I want to talk to them, but I've got to offer something fun. And the women are the easiest because they're more inquisitive or they're looking to have fun. And I'll give you an example, the most bold example, the neatest one. This woman comes up, and I've got the key out here towards the front, and I'm talking people into it. This, by the way, is your, it had a little sign with it. This is your Pocahontas signal kit. It comes with book of matches and a little blanket. So if you want to send up smoke signals, you can do that. This is an old-timey scroll that I put calligraphy on. Kind of a message about how things progress. More interactive stuff. She comes up. She's looking pretty sharp, well, just about like Night on the Town sharp, you know. And she starts in on the key. I don't know Morse code, right? As I say, I borrowed the thing. And I asked her, you know Morse code? She's like, yeah, I was communications director on an oil rig. Oh, okay. And she moves to the center of the table where I've got, actually I had the bell out there, and I had these cut. Now these cost me 3 cents each. She moves up to the center of the table, and I say, free sticker, take one. And she pulls it out of my hand, she reads it. It says, America is a republic with a constitution, not a democracy, not two wolves and a lamb voting on what's for lunch. She reads it, okay. Then she's moving this way, and I show her the D-Day clicker. And I talk a little bit about it, but more about that later. And I explain that to her. Then she comes over here, she sees the megaphone. She picks it up, and I say, oh, now, it's almost mandatory that if you're going to use the megaphone, you also have to use the derby hat. She grabs the derby hat, she puts it on, rakes it back at an angle like this. She starts saying something softly to her friend, the blonde bombshell, in the table over. The two of them get together. The communications gal is holding this in her left hand, crooning into it softly, holding an iPhone, recording a video of the two of them together, and they're singing this duet, you know, right there 5 feet away from me, and it's really neat, you know. I'm watching this, and it's so neat, and that's what women are like. Okay, men are more like if women are like a cat who's curious, men are more like a guard dog who guns up his. And they're on guard at first. You know, for the first 10 seconds, they're like, should I bite his leg off? And they look around, they see the nature of the signs, they listen to me talking, and they decide I'm on their side. And then everything's cool, you know, and then we can talk. Now, the other two groups of people were interesting. Bear in mind that I'm a boomer. They're the very end of the boomer thing. And it's very likely that what you think you know about boomers isn't quite accurate, isn't entirely accurate. Anyway, a lot of it is. So these guys, it's an inverse proportion thing. The older guys who are like 60 and older, 25% of them will talk to me or are interested. You know, that's what I should say. Whereas the younger guys, say 20 to 35, 20 to 30, 25% of them aren't interested or don't really know what I'm getting at. So the older guys, the boomers, a lot of them walk by like this. And I don't mean just walk by, I mean literally like this. As if, I don't know what you're about and I don't want to know. Okay. But what's interesting, that quarter of them that would talk to me, it's to a man. Every one of them was as if something pent up had been. They're so glad that somebody's doing this, that somebody is finally doing this, you know. And they're very encouraging. They're more verbally encouraging than anybody else. Like, hey man, this is great. You need to keep doing this. And they grab some of the pocket constitutions and put some money down. I think I bought these for in the neighborhoods of $1 each. The more you buy, the less it costs. And I was trying to sell them for $3, but anyway. So they grab it and give some, and they're very verbally encouraging. I mean, I can make friends with the instant friends, just like that, because we're on the same page. You know? And then you've got the young guys, and they're encouraging in a different way because they're listening intently to every word I'm saying. They can follow it. They can follow my journey and what I was doing on the internet. They know everything I say. If I'm talking about deplatforming, shadow banning, trolls, infiltrators, account manipulation, and all this kind of... Hey, it's interruption time. I'm the guy who interrupts his own video and laughs at his own jokes. Yeah. Anyway, there are some things when I made the video that are important. Left them out. I'm going to go over them quickly. First off, I realized the irony of saying leave the echo chamber and then going to a gun show. But I'm not there to try and wake people politically. I'm merely there to try and get them interested in alternate communication and meeting people, meeting real live people. Okay. Second, when I talk about spending less time on the internet, the last straw for me, excuse me, wasn't the trolls, the infiltrators, the account manipulation. That's not it. That's pretty bad. It's really annoying. But the last straw for me is the apathy. All right? People will complain about things like deplatforming, surveillance, the difficulty in raising a traditional family. And, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's do something. I'm a hands-on guy. In the video there, you see the booth, the wooden booth. I made that all myself. Drew it up, made it, mostly scrap lumber. You could, in a sense, say 100% scrap lumber. I drive an old truck, which I fixed myself. I fixed washing machine, our own washing machine, computers and everything. And that's not a badge of glory. That is obviously redneck central. But the point being, when I have a problem, or I hear about a problem, I say, what are we going to do about it? And the minute I come to that point on the social media sites, let's talk about it at least. What can we do in a practical way? That's when the conversation goes silent. Been doing this for years, and it's okay. I'm out of here. Adios, amigos. That's why I'm leaving. Now, third, that sign I was talking about that I wish I had over there in the booth in the video I made early. This is it. Okay, this is Coroplast. This is that stuff that's rather inexpensive. It looks like cardboard, but it's made out of plastic. A lot of signs are made out of that. I can make this sign here for a little over $1, maybe even less, considering that this was this was kind of like scrap plastic, and it's not a bad-looking sign. I've come up with a really easy way to make these signs. I call it screen painting instead of screen printing. Well, I guess when I make the other video with the GoPro and how I made the the nuts and bolts of the booth and that kind of thing, I'll try and include how I made these. Anyway, now when it comes to signs, the other thing I would talk about, I should have mentioned, is DOT, Department of Transportation, measurement observations of traffic flow on some streets. Now, I live near a town that's not that big compared to New York City or Los Angeles or something. Okay, but even in this town, the busiest streets have something like 65,000 vehicles a day. All right. Now you put up a sign like this. It's a couple bucks, or even if it's less than $5, whatever it is. Even if it's only up there for a day or two, you've reached a lot of people. I have signs that are up there for more than a year and a half. I put them up on December 24th. It was probably 25th by then. It was Christmas Eve. I was going out and doing with a tricorn hat, doing my little tribute to Washington crossing the Delaware, and attacking the Hessians. Granted, I don't have my own cannon and my own army, but I was putting up some political signs. It was pretty interesting. It's the account, a more detailed account of that incident is in a video I made called And There I Was. Okay, so you can see that other video. It's kind of fun. I put those signs up, as I said, a little more than a year and a half ago. It's near the end of August 2019 now. The signs have 3 words: Build Kate's Wall. It's personal, it's rhetoric, but it's factual. All right? At the time, that was important. I I know that thousands of people have seen those signs, right? So signs are like uncaged wild memes. You know, they're out there. It's totally wild out there, reaching all kinds of people. Anyway, that's it for this stuff. They know it. They know exactly what I'm talking about. So they're listening intently, and I present my ideas about communication, and oh rats, I'm missing one of my signs. I'm just going to have to go through this. So, and they say, hey, that's neat, I like that. And of course, they're going to walk away, and I'm hoping that this sticks with some of them, you know. I want other people to do it. I'm not the only guy, and we don't want leadership anyway. So they are encouraging in their own way, and they know exactly what I'm saying. What's interesting, though, and this is just a side note, is that inverse proportion, that 25%, let's say, whatever number it is, of the younger people who aren't interested in the internet, it's usually for time's sake. There's like, I do not want to spend time on that. And these guys are not your backwoods, idiot, Luddite, by no means. These guys look really sharp and on top of their game. They could have been business owners for all I know. They looked really sharp, but they were just, no, I do not have time for that stuff, for the internet. And I would specifically ask them, you know, they would do the stuff, and I would then I would go into the next phase about how much time you spend on the internet, you know. And no, I do not deal with it. And I wanted to say, right on, man, because, you know, I hope they're doing something successful. I don't know, but they left. Now, I want to tell you about how somebody, well, I'll just suppose they're coming from my left to my right. They're coming across here. Ben, you're not allowed to take pictures in the show itself. You can take them out in the lobby. So Ben was out in the lobby, and the idea there, it's another interactive thing. Get your picture taken with Ben Franklin. And a few people were doing that out in the lobby. I have no idea of knowing how many, because it's on the other side of a wall. It's far away. It's a pretty big show. It was impressive, the size. Anyway, so Ben would not be there. And they're coming, and it's, of course, rows of tables. And they're coming along, and you need to bear in mind, here's another one of the interactive things. I don't know if you can see this from where you're at. Can you see the two lights in the church steeple there? That's, of course, one if by land and two if by sea. It's another fun little interactive thing. The switch was out by the edge of the table. So, and the theme of my booth was old school communication, plus a lot of it's interactive. So they're coming along, and the thing you really need to bear in mind, I'm going to go over with you my spiel, but it's only one side of it. It's always, I have notes because I get some really cool stuff from the people coming up. It's always that way. I used to put on, well, it's been a couple years since I did the last one, but timbering tool demonstrations with the crosscut saw, you know, the big long 6-foot saw, non-motorized timbering tools, broad axe, foot adze, froe, draw knife, all these things. And I would explain how they're used. And invariably, I'd have an old guy come up and tell me some advanced thing that I was on the cusp of figuring out. And he would come up, and I don't know if this was Providence or what, because they couldn't see what I was doing, you know, behind the scenes. And I always got something really neat from the old guys, you know. Now, this is Appalachia, so civilization kind of rushed west, and this was a poor region, so they got electricity later, and they got power tools later, and everything like that. So there is a greater source of old guys with information. Anyway, you got to take notes. And an example is, I'm doing this table at the gun show. And a guy walks up who was 10 years as a history teacher. And it's like jaw drop sort of thing, you know, because I really don't feel qualified for this. I would like to be doing the science one, as I've said, for my own personal reasons and spiritual reasons. I think that America, you look at what happened to America between 1959 and 1969, and I think there's a spiritual element, like Christ left. But that's a separate video. Anyway, I could hang a sign like this one here about the echo chamber. I could put one here about, tell me about history, right? Because I might have a 5th grade education. I'm really not that educated. I'm somewhat articulated because of the circumstances of my past, but I won't explain that right now. Anyway, and I think that would be really an icebreaker. I think it would work really well in my circumstances. Not only that, what would really be dynamic is if you had the straight, almost monotone history guy, along with the loudmouth, barker type, ladies and gentlemen. That team would make a really good combination, I think, to get people having fun. And they did. That's the whole thing, is have fun. So, you live and you learn. I had a long conversation with the history guy. Man, and he did bring me up short, but there's no better way to do it. I mean, it was awesome. He had his own, he's going on about some history facts, but he has his own correlation. He's seeing a correlation between America prior to the last Civil War and what could be another Civil War in regards to the importation of cheap labor. He said, now I don't accept somebody's theory right off. I have to look at the numbers closer, in particular in regards to bringing in slaves, because he said it had been illegal for some time prior to the Civil War, but that they were still doing it. That to me is the crux. I want to know how many were actually coming in, how many were being born, if we can compare it with immigration of labor today. Anyway, he said the conditions are similar. And he's grilling me on things like, okay, so why was Texas formed? And me, I'm like, because they wanted their own republic. And no, before that. So he knows his stuff, and it was neat, it was fun, and I think that would be a really good dynamic. Tell me about history. So, now, here's how your typical person comes up. Remember, take notes. I'm only giving you one side of the conversation here. They come up. They're walking by, and I'm saying, folks, try your hand at the Morse code key. It's free, it's fun, and it's almost addictive. And there are a number of people thought they were going to get shocked. That's why I had to put the key. I had it farther over. I had to put it here so that I could do it. And they would see, oh, it's not a trick. And they'll do it. And, hey, that's neat. Then I said, well, okay, now learn some Morse code. 3 short, 3 long, and 3 short. And they do that. And I say, hey, you just did Morse code. Then they come over here and I say, hey, free stickers for everybody. Take a free sticker. And, of course, it's this little one here. Those are actually return address stickers. And when you fill out the form, instead of putting an address, you just put a little bit about the Constitution on there. I really should get bigger ones. But, again, you live and you learn. So, and then they're walking along, and they come, and I'll say, you ever see one of these? And they no. Now, some of the people know what it is. They just didn't know what it looked like. About a quarter of the guys knew what it was. Once I started explaining, I would say, well, it's D-Day. It's nighttime. You've got Allied paratroopers behind enemy lines, and it's dangerous. Now, they see a guy moving in the dark. They need to know who it is. All right? Everybody was issued one of these, and you click when you see a guy. And their job is to click back twice, okay? Now, they had a code worked out. I don't know exactly what it was. But this is like $10 for the replica. That's not an original, but it looks just like the original. And so, this stuff is fairly low cost. I made this myself. I made this. The only cost I've got into it is this bread pan from Walmart for $1.50. It's an old flashlight. It's a switch. Different things. So they come along, and I explain that to them, and then I'll say something to if they're younger, I'll ask them, how much time do you spend on the internet? If they're a little older, I'll say, one of the reasons I'm here is to talk to people about alternate communication. So, because so much of what you're doing on the internet is either not real accounts, or they're people who already think the way you do. And I want people to get out and communicate with real people, strangers, right? And I had a sign. I said, that sign I can make. It's one of those plastic, coroplast, does it kind of look like cardboard made out of plastic? Those. I've got one. I can make that for a little over $1. And I can show you how to do it too. My sign, I wish I had it here. It says, Warren, 1024th qualified. All right, whatever that number is, however you say it, 1024th qualified. And people laughed. Ah, that's funny. So you can make signs like that. You can make what I'm calling pocket memes. Now this here is a pamphlet that involves a bit of reading, but a pocket meme you can make. I made these Friday night. You can make them yourself. It's on cardstock. It's a little stiffer. It has one short emotional. In fact, it's a factual message, but I try to do it in an either emotional, sarcastic way so that it has more punch, right? 4 of these on a page. You print them off at home. Cut them in quarters with a pair of scissors. Now you can give these out or leave them around, and it does the same thing that a meme does on the internet, but it's out here uncaged, out in the real world, okay? But my ultimate goal in terms of excuse me, in terms of alternate communication is alternate education. Now, there's a neat little book out. I have it on Kindle, I think, called 4th Generation Warfare. I'm pretty sure that 3rd Generation Warfare is lots of equipment, like Hitler and Blitzkrieg. Big conventional armies, uniforms, lots of equipment. 4th Generation Warfare is more non-state operatives, like Taliban coming out of the hills and hitting a target and going back. And the only way to really deal with those guys is to form true light infantry units, that are very mobile and can deal with those kind of players, right? What I'm proposing is that we go light infantry, that we get intelligent about education. Christians for years have been, and it's a good thing, they've been making private schools. But you think about how big of an endeavor that is. You got to have the land and the buildings and the teachers, and this is a huge expense, right? And then not every kid can afford to go there. What I'm proposing is sort of like island hopping in World War II in the South Pacific. The Allied forces didn't take every single island. They only did pragmatic. They only took the ones they needed. The toll was heavy on the Marines. Why take every island? I'm saying, why take every subject? They might not do a stellar job of teaching math or grammar or reading, but let them have it. What I want to address are the ones that are revisionist, okay? The history and the science. That's where the lies are coming in. And my proposal is that we can have either mobile classrooms. People are already doing it with science. I have pictures of science trailers, that I saw in person. Either trailers or an auxiliary room at a church. 1,000 square feet could do it, but it's got to be fun. It's got to be decked out. It's got to be, interactive. All right. It can't just be text in a book. All right. It can be partially that, but you got to engage people. You got to make it fun. It's got to be free. Parents can take their kids there after school or on weekends. And I think that on a level playing field where you've got creation science versus Darwin, it's going to slaughter Darwin. You give it an equal. That's why they cannot allow it in schools. It's not because it's religious. You can do intelligent design from I don't know that you can do it from a non-religious point, but they can't have it because it slaughters Darwin. Darwin was okay back in the middle of the 1800s when you couldn't tell how complex the cell is, but we know better now. And the same with history. How much of this stuff now? I know the lighting and the glare is terrible, but I've got these nifty little signs here. This one is about the Battle of the Alamo. I'm sure they'll talk about that, but do they talk about the bonus march in 1932. And of course, this is a Buffalo soldier. Guy had to wait 15 years to get his Medal of Honor. Building number 7. Building falls down without explanation. Over here, you've got the Battle of Athens, Tennessee in 1946. Here, America has a rich religious history too. The Methodist circuit riders, they place themselves under danger and difficult hardships to go out in the mountains and preach an 100-mile, 200-mile circuit to people who had no preacher. And it was very much appreciated. That's why the Methodist Church grew. But here you got a little drawing of a brush arbor, gold standard, a little quote by Custer, and America's oldest rescue mission. Again, we have a rich religious history, but a lot of this stuff I don't think they're teaching. We couldn't have somebody interfering with our empire, all right? So, would they honestly discuss issues of northern taxation on southern cotton and things like that? I don't know. Again, I don't picture myself as a history guy other than the fact that I do so much old-timey stuff. I often live with one foot in 1880. But, if I fall into that role, I fall into that role. Now, here it is. Here's my little sign. So, that's my spiel about alternate education, and people are standing there and say, hey, that's a good idea. Because we can actually do this. We could take 1,000 foot square area and deck it out and make it fun. All right? And I hope they remember. I have no idea what people are going to do. Now, I want to give you, as I said, Sunday taught me what I want to do on the next show. There's another show coming up a little over a week from now. But I spent so much time preparing for this. This was relatively easy. I want to make another video with a GoPro and walk around here and show you the different kinds of wood and how easy this was to make. And how I made these things and all that. All right? Separate video. But I spent so much time getting ready that I really can't do the other one. I would like to. Truck is here. Maybe it's a ferry. I don't know. Anyway, I want to go over my plans for, if I did another show, what I would do. I might have the awesome wall of signs for sale. We'll see. But on the other end over here, I want to have a pole with a rope and 2 pulleys, and people can pull the rope, and up goes the Jolly Roger, the black flag with the skull and crossbones. I think people would have fun with that. Again, we're talking old school communication, hands-on, get involved. I want to have a little model. They sell them for like $6. Little painted model of a pigeon, and you can pull the message out from the pigeon's leg like a carrier pigeon. All right. Maybe some old steamship pipe funnel communication, and most of all, I think it might be called a diorama, a 3D model of what I'm talking about for these alternate classrooms. Because if people can see it, I can see things in my mind because it's my job, but other people maybe not see it so well. But if it was right there and they could see it, I want to do that. I simply do not have time in a week to make this thing. And really, it's got to be right. It's got to be right or don't do it. It's got to have some impact. It's got to engage people, and that's what we're about. So, and also one of the things. Oh, yes, the whole theme there. What I'm moving towards, this box, this diorama, is this is what we can do. We can do this. All right. People have seen rubber stamps in operation. That would be another thing. A rubber stamp that has a little message. And now, not this big, mind you. I made this bigger so that you could see it on the camera today. But a rubber stamp with this on it, right? So that everybody gets to stamp that. And I said, take it with you. And it might help them remember my diorama, my thing. This is what we can do. Rather than just talking about a classroom, I want to say, this is what we can do. We can do this, all right? This is doable. None of this is that complicated. If I can do it, If I can put this thing together, other people can too. All right? So please remember that. Please work on it yourself. I'm just a scruffy old guy from the woods, man. I know you guys are smart. And, you can do this. Please help. Please figure out a way. You got to make it your own so that when you're talking to people, it's your own presentation. It's your own dynamic interaction. You're certainly welcome to follow what I'm doing verbatim or as a start or something, but make it your own. Customize it and do this thing. We can do this, all right? Great. Thanks for watching.